Imagine this. You share your deepest thoughts, feelings, and secrets with someone you trust wholeheartedly. Maybe it's a close friend, a family member, or even a colleague. You've always believed they're in your corner, supporting you through thick and thin. But then, things start to feel off. Subtle hints of discomfort, strange behavior, and whispers from others begin to make you question whether that trust has been betrayed. The harsh reality is, it's possible that the person you trust the most could be talking badly about you behind your back. And let me tell you, this isn't just a gut feeling. There are clear, undeniable signs that can tell you when betrayal is happening right under your nose. In today's video, we're diving deep into the most revealing signs that someone you trust might be secretly damaging your reputation. You do not want to miss this, because if you've ever felt that sting of betrayal or wondered if someone close to you might be sabotaging you behind your back, this video will open your eyes to the truth. Before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on crucial insights like these. Stay with me until the end because I'll be revealing the most important signs that will help you spot betrayal early and protect your peace of mind. 1. Unexplained coldness or distance. Have you ever experienced the sudden shift in someone's behavior, almost like a light has dimmed between you? Maybe this is someone you shared countless moments with, a close friend, a family member, or even a colleague. The bond between you was once so strong that conversations flowed naturally. You could read each other's thoughts with a glance, and spending time together felt effortless. But now, something has changed, and you can't quite put your finger on it. They've grown distant. At first, it might be subtle. Maybe they cancel plans more often or seem distracted during conversations. The once vibrant energy they brought to your interactions is replaced by indifference. You notice that when you talk, the engagement is half-hearted and their responses are brief, as if they're eager to end the conversation. Eye contact, which used to feel warm and reassuring, becomes rare and fleeting. You can almost feel an invisible wall building between you, and it's hard to shake the feeling that something's wrong. So, what's really going on here? While it's easy to assume that life or stress might be the cause, there's often something deeper at play. Something far more personal. One of the clearest indicators that someone may be betraying your trust, perhaps by talking badly about you behind your back, is a sudden unexplained coldness or emotional distance. Why does this happen? It's simple. Guilt. When someone betrays you, especially someone who knows the value of your trust, they can't help but feel guilty about it. But instead of coming clean or addressing the situation head-on, they retreat. They can't face you because every interaction serves as a reminder of the betrayal they've committed. That internal conflict, knowing they've wronged you, eats away at them. It's easier for them to pull away emotionally than to continue pretending everything is fine. Imagine this. Every time they see you or hear your voice, their guilt rises to the surface. They know that if you found out what they've been saying or doing behind your back, it would hurt you deeply. This causes them to withdraw, creating an emotional distance that feels colder by the day. They'll avoid meaningful conversations, offer vague explanations for their behavior, and may even start acting differently around others when you're present. It's not necessarily about what you did, it's about what they've done. Let's relate this to real-life scenarios. Maybe you had a best friend who once called you regularly to check in, share stories, and laugh about the small things in life. Lately, those calls have become rare, and when they do pick up the phone, the conversation feels forced, as though they're only speaking to you out of obligation. Or perhaps there's a coworker who used to grab lunch with you every day, sharing jokes and exchanging ideas, but now they seem distant, making excuses to avoid spending time together. When you speak to them, their replies are short, and they seem distracted, as if their mind is elsewhere. This coldness can also show up in their body language. They might stand farther away from you than they used to, avoid sitting next to you in meetings or social gatherings, and when they do speak, they look anywhere but into your eyes. It's a subtle but powerful shift that leaves you feeling like an outsider in your own relationship with them. That sinking feeling you're experiencing, it's often your intuition picking up on the energy of betrayal. You start questioning everything. Did I do something wrong? Did I say something to upset them? These doubts can consume you, leading you to overanalyze every interaction. But the truth is, this emotional distance is not about something you did. It's about their inability to face you after betraying your trust. Guilt creates a barrier that even they may not fully understand. But the result is clear. They start pulling away. They may not even realize how obvious their behavior has become. Their sudden lack of warmth, their growing detachment, and their avoidance of meaningful conversations are all signs of an internal struggle. By talking negatively about you behind your back, they've created a narrative in their head that conflicts with the trust you once shared. That narrative is now too difficult for them to maintain in your presence, so they slowly distance themselves, hoping you won't notice. But the truth is, emotional distance speaks louder than words. If you've noticed these unexplained changes in behavior, it's time to pay attention. Their coldness may be the clearest signal that they're carrying the guilt of betrayal. Guilt they can't hide, even if they try. This distance isn't random. It's often their silent confession, the subconscious way they reveal that they've wronged you behind closed doors. If you find yourself in this situation, trust your instincts. Emotional withdrawal is rarely without reason. Their coldness is a reflection of the burden they carry, a burden created by their own betrayal. Don't dismiss these feelings. Instead, recognize them for what they are, a warning sign that someone you trust may not be as loyal as you once believed. 2. Conversations don't add up. Have you ever had a conversation with someone where, at first, everything seemed perfectly fine, but then, as you replay their words in your mind, something just doesn't sit right? Their story doesn't quite make sense. Details don't match up, and what they said one day contradicts what they said another. These inconsistencies, no matter how small, can be major red flags that something isn't adding up. And when someone is talking behind your back, this is exactly the kind of behavior they'll exhibit, because keeping track of lies is never easy. Let's break it down. When someone betrays your trust by spreading rumors or speaking negatively about you to others, they find themselves caught in a web of deceit. At first, they might feel like they've got it all under control. They think they can maintain the facade in front of you while gossiping behind your back. But lies and rumors are tricky things. The more they spread, the harder it becomes to keep them straight. They'll start to trip over their own words. One moment they're telling you one version of a story, and the next time you talk, the details have changed. Or perhaps you catch them giving vague, half-baked explanations when pressed for more details. These little slips may seem insignificant at first, but they're powerful indicators that something is off. Think about it. If someone were truly being honest with you, their story would stay consistent. They wouldn't hesitate or stutter when explaining themselves. But when someone's hiding something, especially when that something involves betraying you behind your back, the cracks in their lies begin to show. They'll contradict themselves, mix up details, or even get defensive when you ask simple follow-up questions. Imagine this in a real-life scenario. Maybe you've noticed that a friend has been acting differently, and when you ask them about it, they tell you they've been super busy with work or family. At first, it seems like a reasonable explanation. But the next time you talk, they mention how they've been hanging out with other friends or have had plenty of free time lately. These conflicting stories make you pause and wonder, why aren't their words lining up? Why didn't they just tell you the truth in the first place? Or let's say you overhear something through the grapevine, something that contradicts what this person has been telling you. When you confront them, they quickly scramble to change their story, offering a vague excuse that doesn't fully explain the inconsistency. This shifting narrative is a clear sign they're trying to cover their tracks. It's not just about a mix-up. It's about them hiding the truth of what they've been saying about you behind your back. When someone is lying or manipulating the truth, their behavior becomes erratic. They'll offer up quick explanations that sound fine on the surface, but fall apart when you look deeper. Maybe they'll blame stress, forgetfulness, or even twist the situation around to make you doubt your own perception. But don't be fooled. These inconsistencies are a sign that they're struggling to keep their lies straight. In real life, this kind of behavior can be incredibly frustrating. You want to believe the best in people, especially those you trust. But when their words don't match their actions, or when they're constantly shifting their story, it's a sign that they're hiding something. Their tangled web of deceit is starting to unravel, and whether they realize it or not, they're leaving clues behind. If you're experiencing this kind of inconsistency in conversations with someone you trust, don't ignore it. These little slips are often signs of a much bigger issue. Lies are hard to maintain, and when someone is betraying you by talking badly behind your back, they'll struggle to keep up appearances. Their stories won't align, their details will blur, and they may even start contradicting themselves without realizing it. Pay attention to these red flags. When their words don't add up, when their explanations feel vague, or when you catch them in subtle lies, it's a sign of betrayal lurking in the shadows. They're not just being careless. They're hiding something, and more often than not, that something is a betrayal of your trust. Trust your instincts. If their words don't align with their actions, if you find yourself catching them in these little inconsistencies, don't brush it off. It's a sign that they might be saying one thing to your face and something entirely different behind your back. Lies have a way of revealing themselves, and these inconsistencies are their way of slipping through the cracks. 3. They become overly interested in your personal life. Have you ever noticed someone who suddenly becomes too interested in your personal life? Maybe it's a friend, a colleague, or even a family member who was never this curious before. But now, they're asking you all kinds of probing questions. At first glance, it might seem like they're just being supportive or genuinely concerned about your well-being. But dig a little deeper, and you may find that their newfound curiosity isn't as innocent as it seems. In fact, it might be a sign that they're fishing for information, ammunition to use against you when talking badly behind your back. Let's look at how this plays out in real life. Picture this. Someone who was never really involved in the intimate details of your life suddenly wants to know everything. They ask about your job, your relationships, your challenges, and even your failures. They seem very interested in the choices you're making, your personal struggles, and the issues you're dealing with. Maybe they're asking about that argument you had with your partner or your latest career setback. On the surface, it could appear that they're just being a good friend, trying to be there for you. But something feels off. It's as though they're digging too deep, asking too many questions about things they wouldn't normally care about. You start to feel like they're prying into parts of your life that don't concern them. That's because, in many cases, people who talk behind your back want something to talk about. They need personal details they can twist, distort, and share with others, turning your private struggles into gossip. Why would they do this? People who betray your trust often feel insecure themselves. By gathering intimate details about your life, they're arming themselves with information they can use to manipulate or damage your reputation. It's a classic case of someone appearing supportive on the surface, but in reality, they're simply collecting data to further their own agenda. They'll share your private stories with others, often with a negative twist, or use those details to paint you in a bad light when they talk behind your back. Let's dive into a real-life example. Maybe you have a colleague who was always polite but never overly interested in your personal life. Suddenly, they're asking about your finances, your family, or your relationship status. It feels strange, but they frame their questions in a way that seems caring, asking how you're doing, what your future plans are, or how you're handling personal challenges. But then you start noticing that other people at work seem to know things about you that you never shared with them. This colleague has been passing along your private information as part of office gossip, using your personal life to build their own narrative about you behind your back. Or consider a so-called friend who, out of nowhere, starts prying into your relationship troubles. They ask about every detail, how you and your partner are doing, what arguments you've had, and even the things you're insecure about. At first, it seems like they're offering a shoulder to lean on, but then you notice they're sharing your struggles with others, using your vulnerabilities to make you look weak or unstable. They're not interested in helping. They're interested in gathering fuel to talk about you behind your back. What makes this behavior even more dangerous is that it can be so subtle. They may not openly gossip in front of you, and their questions might come across as caring, but pay attention to the patterns. Are they asking more personal questions than they used to? Are they more interested in your challenges than your successes? And most importantly, do you feel a sense of discomfort when they start probing into your private matters? That discomfort is often your intuition trying to warn you that something isn't right. It's also important to notice how they respond to your answers. If someone genuinely cares, they'll offer support or advice in a way that helps you move forward. But if their goal is to use your information against you, they might not offer much support at all. Instead, they'll store that information away, waiting for the right moment to share it with someone else or to bring it up when it suits their agenda. The next time you find yourself in a situation where someone seems too interested in your personal life, take a step back and consider their motives. Are they truly there for you, or are they using your personal details as gossip material? People who betray your trust often do so in subtle ways, and one of the clearest signs is an unnatural curiosity about your personal life. They're not asking because they care. They're asking because they need something to talk about when you're not around. Remember, someone who respects you will respect your privacy. They won't pry into your personal life unless you choose to share it with them. And even then, they'll protect your information with the same care they would their own. But someone who's gathering details to use against you, they'll be overly curious, always fishing for more and never quite satisfied with your answers. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. When someone is too invested in your personal life, be cautious, because they might be using your trust to fuel their own betrayal. 4. People start treating you differently. Have you ever walked into a room full of people who used to be warm and friendly, only to feel an unsettling coldness in the air? People you once laughed with now barely make eye contact. Conversations feel stiff, and you start to notice subtle, or even blatant, hostility. It's as if something has changed, but you can't quite put your finger on it. One of the clearest signs that someone you trust is talking badly about you behind your back is when the people around you suddenly start acting differently for no obvious reason. This shift in behavior often stems from the seeds of doubt and negativity planted by the person betraying your trust. When someone spreads false or damaging information about you, their words have the power to influence the way others see you. And unfortunately, people tend to believe what they hear, especially when it comes from someone they think they can trust. So, when you start to notice people in your social circle treating you with distance or coldness, it's often a red flag that someone has been whispering behind your back. Let's break this down. Imagine you have a close friend who suddenly becomes distant, and at the same time, you notice that other mutual friends are acting differently toward you too. Maybe they stop inviting you to hangouts, or when you do see them, their behavior is off, more guarded, less friendly. Conversations that once flowed easily now feel awkward, like there's an unspoken tension. You start to feel like an outsider in a group where you once felt at home. What's happening here? Chances are, the person you trusted has been sharing private or distorted information about you, and those around you are reacting to it. Maybe they've told others that you're difficult to deal with, unreliable, or that you've said or done things that you never actually did. The people around you don't confront you directly about it. but their behavior says it all. They've been influenced by the lies being spread behind your back. This kind of betrayal is particularly painful because it affects not just your relationship with the person spreading the rumors, but with everyone around you. It creates an atmosphere of mistrust and discomfort, leaving you isolated without even knowing why. Suddenly, you're left questioning what was said about you, who believes it, and how you can possibly set the record straight. Think about it like this. When someone starts bad, mouthing you behind your back, they're not just hurting your relationship with them. They're chipping away at your reputation with everyone else in your social circle. They might tell stories or make comments that paint you in a negative light, framing you as someone who's difficult, untrustworthy, or problematic. Even if these things aren't true, once those seeds of doubt are planted, they start to grow in the minds of the people who hear them. And the worst part, often these people won't even realize they're being influenced. They might think their change in behavior toward you is based on their own judgment, when in reality, they're reacting to the subtle manipulation of someone else's words. Imagine you're in a work environment where you've always had a good rapport with your colleagues. Suddenly, they seem to be giving you the cold shoulder. Projects you were once easily included in are now being handled by others. Or perhaps, in a social setting, friends who used to be close have become distant, barely acknowledging your presence. In these moments, it can feel confusing and hurtful, and you're left wondering what changed. It's crucial to understand that people often react to the stories they hear about you without questioning the source. When someone you trust spreads negative or false information behind your back, it alters the way others perceive you, often without you even realizing it's happening. What's worse, they rarely confront you directly, so you're left in the dark about what's been said. The shift in behavior feels subtle at first, but over time, the effects become more pronounced, leading to tension and estrangement that can be incredibly difficult to navigate. But why would someone you trust do this? Often, it stems from insecurity, jealousy, or a desire to control how others perceive you. By bad-mouthing you behind your back, they can make themselves look better in comparison or manipulate others into distancing themselves from you. It's a toxic way to exert influence, and it leaves you caught in the middle, trying to figure out what went wrong. So, what can you do? The first step is awareness. If you start noticing that people around you are treating you differently, especially if it seems sudden or unexplained, it's worth considering whether someone might be poisoning your reputation behind the scenes. This realization can be painful, but it's important to face it head on. Next, trust your instincts. If the behavior feels off, it probably is. Pay attention to how people's attitudes shift, and don't be afraid to address it directly if you feel comfortable. Sometimes asking a trusted friend or colleague if they've noticed anything can provide clarity. And if you feel ready, confronting the person you believe is spreading rumors can help you get to the root of the issue, though it's important to do so with caution, as this kind of confrontation can be delicate. In the end, one of the most damaging aspects of betrayal is how it impacts your connections with others. When someone you trust talks badly about you behind your back, they create a ripple effect that changes the way others see you. But by recognizing the signs and addressing the situation, you can take control and protect your reputation from being unfairly tarnished. So, if people around you suddenly start acting differently, without a clear reason, it could be a sign that someone close to you has been painting a false picture behind closed doors. Stay alert, trust your gut, and don't let their betrayal go unnoticed. 5. They gossip about others too much. We all know someone who can't seem to help themselves. They're always quick to talk about other people's lives, discussing private details, and sharing stories that were never meant to be repeated. But here's the hard truth. If someone gossips about others constantly, they're almost certainly doing the same thing to you when you're not around. This is one of the clearest red flags in any relationship. And if you spot it, you need to be on high alert. Let's dive into what's really happening here. Imagine you're sitting with a friend, and every time you meet, they have something negative to say about someone else, whether it's about a mutual friend, a colleague, or even someone from their family. They seem to thrive on drama, taking pleasure in sharing the latest piece of gossip. At first, you might not think much of it. After all, they're not talking about you, right? But the reality is, people who engage in constant gossip don't have boundaries. If they're comfortable talking badly about others in front of you, there's no reason to believe they won't do the same to you behind your back. Picture this. You've got a close friend who, whenever you hang out, brings up some juicy details about someone else you both know. They tell you about someone's failing relationship, a secret they accidentally overheard, or a mistake that someone made at work. You laugh it off or nod along thinking it's just harmless conversation. But then, one day, you find out that the same friend has been talking about you to others, sharing your private details or making negative comments about you behind your back. How would that feel? Probably like a punch in the gut, right? This behavior often goes unnoticed at first because we tend to overlook it when it's about other people. But here's the key point. Someone who makes a habit of gossiping about others is showing you their true nature. They don't respect boundaries or confidentiality. Today, they might be telling you about someone else's personal life, but tomorrow, it could easily be your name that's being tossed around in their conversations. This is a person who thrives on creating chaos, manipulating situations for their own entertainment, and fueling drama to stay relevant. Let's take it a step further. When you notice that someone is quick to badmouth others, ask yourself this. Why do they feel the need to do this? Often, people who gossip excessively are driven by their own insecurities. They feel better about themselves by bringing others down, using gossip as a way to divert attention from their own flaws or shortcomings. By making others look bad, they believe they can make themselves look better in comparison. This is a deeply toxic behavior, and it's important to recognize it for what it is. A sign that this person can't be trusted with your personal information. Think about it. You might feel close to this person because they're confiding in you, sharing private stories about other people. But in reality, this isn't a sign of trust. It's a warning. If they're so quick to spill someone else's secrets, why wouldn't they do the same with yours? The next time they feel the need to stir the pot, your name could be at the center of their gossip. Another crucial point to consider is how gossip can impact your reputation. When someone gossips about you behind your back, they're not just sharing harmless stories. They're shaping how others see you. They might exaggerate, twist your words, or completely fabricate details just to make the story more interesting. And once that information is out there, it's hard to control the damage. The people who hear the gossip might start to question your integrity, your decisions, or your character, all based on false or skewed information. Now, let's relate this to a real-life scenario you might have experienced. You're in a group of friends, and one person in particular always seems to have the latest dirt on everyone else. They talk about other people's relationships, their mistakes, their personal struggles. At first, it's entertaining. Everyone loves a bit of gossip now and then. But over time, you start to realize that they're never short of stories, and that makes you wonder, if they're talking about everyone else so freely, what are they saying about me when I'm not around? This realization can be unsettling, but it's important to trust that instinct. People who gossip excessively often don't see the harm in their actions. They're addicted to the thrill of sharing information and stirring up drama. But for you, it's a wake-up call. It's time to protect yourself from their toxic behavior. These are the kind of people who will smile to your face and then criticize you behind your back. They'll take your private thoughts, your struggles, or even your successes, and use them as fuel for their next gossip session. So, what can you do if you find yourself in this situation? First, it's important to distance yourself from people who gossip too much. If you've noticed that someone close to you spends a lot of time bad-mouthing others, recognize that it's only a matter of time before you become the target. Protect your personal information. Don't share things with them that you wouldn't want to be repeated. And, if possible, call them out on their behavior. Let them know that you're uncomfortable with how much they talk about others behind their backs. Sometimes, this confrontation can be a wake-up call for them, but in most cases, it's best to simply put some distance between yourself and their toxic energy. In the end, people who thrive on gossip are not trustworthy. They don't value loyalty or confidentiality, and their constant need to stir up drama can have serious consequences for your relationships and reputation. If you spot this red flag, take action. Don't let their bad habits pull you into a web of betrayal. 6. They don't defend you in critical situations. Imagine this. You're in a room where your name comes up, but not in the best light. Someone is openly criticizing you, bringing up things you thought were private, twisting your words or questioning your character. It's a moment where you expect your closest friend, the person you've trusted, to speak up for you to defend your reputation, but instead they sit there, silent, or worse, they nod along, giving subtle agreement to the negative remarks being made about you. This situation is one of the most painful and telling signs that someone you trust might be talking badly about you behind your back. Silence in a moment of need is deafening, and when a friend refuses to defend you in critical situations, it's often because they've already contributed to the very narrative that's being used against you. Let's dig deeper. In any relationship, there are bound to be moments where others don't agree with or misunderstand your actions. But a true friend, someone who genuinely cares about you, will stand up for you when it matters most. They'll step in to clarify, correct, or defend your side of the story, ensuring that your integrity remains intact even when you're not in the room. If they choose to stay quiet, this could be a sign of guilt. It's likely they've been spreading negative information about you themselves, and now they're caught in a situation where speaking up would reveal their betrayal. Think of a real-life example where this could happen. Perhaps you're at a gathering and someone starts to gossip about you. They bring up something personal, something that only your close circle of friends would know. As the conversation shifts into criticism, you glance at your trusted friend, the one who knows you inside and out. You expect them to jump in, to shut down the hurtful words and set the record straight. But instead they look away, change the subject, or worse, let the conversation continue. Their silence speaks volumes. In that moment, you realize they might have been the very source of the gossip, and now they're too afraid to defend you because they'd be contradicting themselves. This kind of behavior can be devastating. We all want to believe that the people we hold close will be there for us, especially when our reputation is on the line. When they fail to stand up for us, it leaves a deep sense of betrayal. It makes you question everything. How long have they been talking about me? What else have they said? Who else knows things I thought were private? In situations like these, the damage goes beyond just the gossip. Their silence in critical moments can affect how others see you. When someone doesn't defend you, it gives the impression that what's being said is true. The people around you might start to believe the rumors or criticisms, all because your trusted friend failed to step in and set the record straight. And once that seed of doubt is planted in other people's minds, it can be difficult to remove. Now, let's take this a step further. Imagine you confront your friend afterward, asking why they didn't speak up for you. They might offer excuses like, "I didn't want to get involved," or "I didn't think it was my place to say anything." But deep down, you know that these are just deflections. In reality, someone who truly values your friendship and respects you would want to get involved. They'd feel obligated to clear your name, to show others the truth, and to protect your bond. Their refusal to do so is a sign that they might be protecting themselves, because speaking up could reveal that they've been part of the problem all along. In friendships, silence can be as harmful as words. When someone who's supposed to have your back chooses to stay quiet in the face of unfair criticism, it's a glaring red flag. It shows a lack of loyalty and exposes their willingness to prioritize their own comfort over your well-being. So, what should you do if you notice this sign in someone close to you? First, pay attention to how often this happens. If they consistently stay silent or refuse to defend you when you're being criticized, it's time to question their loyalty. Next, observe their behavior in other situations. Do they actively contribute to negative conversations about others? Are they quick to spread rumors or gossip when it's about someone else? If so, it's likely they're doing the same to you when you're not around. In the end, a true friend stands by your side, especially when your character is being attacked. They won't sit in silence when you need them the most. If someone repeatedly fails to defend you, it's a strong indication that they're not as trustworthy as you once believed. 7. You hear rumors that only they knew about. Imagine confiding in someone you trust deeply, sharing your personal struggles, fears, and dreams, believing they're safe in that person's hands. Then, one day, you hear those very details whispered in conversations you had no part in. The private things you thought were locked away in your friendship are suddenly public knowledge. This is one of the most painful signs of betrayal, when the very person you trusted has been using your vulnerability against you, feeding gossip to others behind your back. Let's paint a clearer picture. Think about the last time you shared something deeply personal with a friend. Maybe you opened up about a mistake you made, a relationship issue, or a challenge you're facing. You confided in them because you believed they would support you without judgment. Now, imagine hearing those exact details come back to you through the grapevine, perhaps slightly twisted or exaggerated. It's a gut-wrenching feeling, isn't it? Realizing that the person you trusted has broken that bond and turned your private life into public fodder. This is the ultimate betrayal because it attacks the very foundation of trust. When someone you trust spreads rumors about you, especially about things that only they knew, it's not just a casual slip up. It's a deliberate act. They've taken your vulnerability and used it to their advantage, whether to fit in with a certain crowd, gain attention, or stir drama. The hurt comes from knowing that while you were bearing your soul, they were turning your trust into ammunition against you. In real life, this type of betrayal often starts subtly. You may hear a small detail of something you mentioned in confidence being casually discussed by someone else. At first, you might dismiss it, thinking, maybe I shared that with more people than I remember. But as time goes on, more pieces of your private life start to leak out. Conversations that were meant to stay between you and your trusted friend become common knowledge. The more you hear, the more you start connecting the dots. That nagging feeling in your gut grows stronger until it's undeniable. The person you trusted most is the one talking behind your back. This betrayal cuts even deeper when the rumors aren't just about the facts, but about your character. Imagine sharing a moment of weakness with a friend. Perhaps you admitted to feeling insecure or struggling with a decision. Instead of supporting you, they use that moment to paint you in a negative light to others. Suddenly, people start seeing you through the lens of the rumors, rather than for who you really are. It's not just about the words that were spoken. It's about the damage those words cause to your reputation and self-worth. A real-life example of this might look like this. You're dealing with a personal issue at work. Maybe a project went wrong, or you're facing conflict with a colleague. You confide in your trusted friend, explaining your side of the story and sharing how you feel. A week later, you hear whispers that you're being blamed for the project's failure, and the details of your private conversation are now being used against you. What's worse, people are adding their own spin to the story, making you look worse than you ever imagined. That's when it hits you. The only person who knew these details was the friend you confided in. What makes this type of betrayal so devastating is that it's not just about the rumors. It's about the violation of trust. Trust is the foundation of any close relationship. When you trust someone, you allow yourself to be vulnerable. You let down your guard, believing that the other person will keep your secrets safe. When that trust is broken, it's not just your reputation that's hurt. It's your ability to trust others in the future. You may even start questioning yourself, wondering how you didn't see it coming. Were there signs you missed? Were they always this way, or did something change? This internal conflict can be just as painful as the external rumors because it shakes your confidence in your own judgment. You might find yourself replaying past conversations in your head, trying to figure out when the shift happened, when the person you trusted started betraying you. If you start noticing this sign in your life, it's crucial to address it. Don't allow the betrayal to continue festering in silence. Take a step back and reevaluate the relationship. Ask yourself if this person has a pattern of gossiping about others or manipulating information. If they're willing to betray you in this way, it's likely they've done it before or will do it again. It's also important to confront them, gently but firmly. Let them know that you're aware of the rumors and that it's unacceptable. This will either lead to an apology and an opportunity to rebuild trust or confirm that they were never truly loyal to you in the first place. Ultimately, hearing rumors that only a trusted friend knew about is one of the most obvious signs that someone is talking badly behind your back. It's not just hurtful, it's a wake-up call to reassess who you allow into your inner circle. Trust, once broken, is difficult to repair, but recognizing the signs early can help you protect yourself from further harm and find relationships built on mutual respect and loyalty. In conclusion, betrayal can be one of the hardest things to accept, especially when it comes from someone you trusted deeply. But recognizing the signs early on can help you protect yourself and decide whether it's worth confronting the situation or walking away. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it can be difficult to repair. Remember, the way others treat you says more about them than it does about you. By being mindful of these signs, you can safeguard your peace of mind and surround yourself with people who genuinely have your back. If you've experienced betrayal or noticed any of these signs in your life, feel free to share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. Your insights might help someone else going through a similar situation. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Share it with others and hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on more insightful content. Thank you for watching.